This is not the story I wanted to tell. It's the story I have to tell. Yes, this is my family, and yes, my family can kick your family's ass. Well, we could once. We're kind of a mess now. This is our matriarch, my grandma Charlotte. She's 86 and lives in Tucson. She has 6 children and about 50 grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. She's got more grandchildren than I have years. She knows all their names. She's changed all their diapers. She's held them, rocked them, and loved them all. And she's dying. But rest assured, it's bringing out the best in us. Grandma has a large tumor on her pancreas. She won't do surgery or chemo, a decision which I support. She's almost 90 years old. Of course, I knew she would die someday, but I don't know what I'm going to do without her. She has saved me so many times. She's the reason I go to Tucson at all. She's the reason I'm alive. She's the reason I know what love is. And next year, she'll be gone. Even before the cancer diagnosis, my Uncle John was planning to move Grandma into his house. As independent as she'd once been, she'd grown too weak to truly care for herself anymore. I'm not sure which of those things, the cancer or the move, had been harder on her. So this year's trip to Tucson for Thanksgiving took on a grave meaning. It would be Grandma's last Thanksgiving. We all knew it, including my dad. My dad and I have a storied history, the kind of history that writers dream of and family therapists masturbate about. Last time I'd seen him in 2016, we got into a fight about him voting for Orange Cheeto Jesus. I'm sick and tired of all these people living on government fucking handouts, he growled. Ever the intrepid West Coast elitist pushing the homosexual agenda, I quickly ran the numbers in my stupid liberal head. Dad, your entire income is composed of Social Security disability, and VA disability. You literally live off of government handouts. Well, I deserve it, goddammit, was his reasonable response. That's my family. Tougher than nails, but not altogether together. My dad is the toughest of them all, a Vietnam vet, a carpenter, and a former member of the Mongols. If I were religious, I'd say that God had cursed him with a gay son who was sensitive, smart, and gentle. All the things he wasn't. All the things that made me Grandma's favorite. I'm not religious, though. But Dad is. Since the Trumpanzee took office, my father has been spending your tax dollars to attend an online Bible study course. Through the magic of the interwebs, he attends virtual services in between his morning dose of Fox News and his afternoon dose of InfoWars. My father's recent indoctrination into the Church of Internet Jesus has given him some odd notions. He thinks he's Prometheus discovering fire for the first time. And like Prometheus, he is duty-bound by Christian conscience to bless all of humanity with his holy wisdom, especially his gay son, who lives in California. My father is convinced that Trump is an instrument of divine prophecy and that a civil war is coming to this country. His text messages read like the ending dialogue in a shitty Terminator spinoff. If war breaks out, son, this'll be your war. Funny thing, Dad's Christian conscience inspired these text messages, but when his mother was in the hospital looking down the barrel of cancer, he couldn't be bothered. I'd driven down from San Diego for her. He couldn't make a 30-minute drive to see his own mother. But he did call her up to bless her with God's love once she made it home from the hospital. "Mother, you better be reading your Bible," he told her. But my dad had forgotten that Grandma is not some trifling heathen, honey. "Jerry, don't you lecture me about the Bible just because you just discovered it," she snapped. "I took Bible study for 20 years. I could teach your friggin' class with my eyes closed." I didn't talk to him again. Until Vince and I brought Grandma to my aunt's house for Thanksgiving. And oh, what a glorious holiday it was. My fiance and I showed up to my Aunt Lori's house on a gray, chilly day and found half of my family on the front patio, playing my favorite game show, in which contestants compete to inherit the most trauma. My grandma is a hypochondriac, and our entire family has an abusive relationship with illness. Being sick is the way that the Burke family seeks love and competes for status. Got a cold? How dare you? Aunt Kathy has the flu. Oh yeah? Well, Cousin Bill had pneumonia and almost died, you selfish prick. We're a family of badasses who are also somehow the most pathetic martyrs you can imagine. Half of us are disabled and or suffering from chronic pain disorders. The other half are working on it or jealous at best. It's a game that plays us. Only this time it wasn't a game. Somebody was the sickest, and it was Grandma. But she held it together pretty well at Thanksgiving dinner. She told everyone she was moving in with Uncle John and how busy she'd been packing. She promised to give each of them something from her home, a keepsake of hers that she didn't have room for in the guest room at my uncle's house. Cousin Sabrina got the dining set. Aunt Lenora got the crock pot. My dad got the washer and dryer. Grandma made a good show of this, but I knew she was devastated by it. Every item she promised to a family member was one more reminder of the life she'd had, a life that was drawing to a close. The night of Thanksgiving was the last one Grandma spent in her own home before the move, and it was rough. She barely slept, and by proxy, neither did I. She had a fitful, pain-filled night, and she sweat through her nightgown and bedsheets. Being the fastidious lady she was, the next morning she got up and put her night clothes and bedding into the washing machine. This came as something of a surprise to my father, who burst through her door that same morning, serving Duck Dynasty realness with the side of adult-onset diabetes. He'd come to pick up the washing machine and dryer Grandma had promised him. When he realized the machine was in use, things went to shit. "God damn it, Mother, I told you I was coming here at 9 a.m. to pick up the washing machine." Grandma stammered in explanation. "Jerry, I sweat through my bedclothes and I wanted to wash the sheets." "I told you yesterday we'd wash your goddamn sheets," he roared. "Now I have to sit here on my ass for 2 fucking hours before I can load all this shit up. Fuck!" Before I could muster the presence of mind to say anything, he lumbered onto the back patio and dropped into a chair, swearing, before he whipped out his flip phone to play some sweet games. I was trying to decide whether I was shocked or enraged when I heard him call my name. "Get me a cup of coffee," he demanded. I decided. "Your mother is dying and you can't sit here for a couple hours and hang out with her while her laundry finishes?" I hissed, storming outside to follow him. "What in the fuck is wrong with you?" He slammed his flip phone shut and glared at me. "Don't you fucking talk to me like that. I'm your father. You show some respect. Honor thy father." This fucking sent me. Honor thy father? Honor thy father? I'll show you some fucking respect when you afford that to your own mother. I glanced inside. My bleary-eyed fiance was standing in the kitchen, unsure what to do. I spied Grandma at the dining room table, muttering and fussing with her blood sugar monitor. Oh, oh no, she cried, pointing at the reading like a Munchausen syndrome show and tell. This is terrible, just terrible. You don't know shit, my dad said, returning my attention to the more important business at hand. Your lifestyle doesn't make room for Christ. It's not a lifestyle, Dad. You need to update your homophobic references. His face reddened at being lectured to by a liberal gay homosexual. You want to take this outside? My father demanded, leaning heavily on his cane. I gestured around the patio. We are outside. You know what I mean, son of a bitch, he barked. And then we stormed around the side of the house and continued in the driveway so the front neighbors could have some too. This is Grandma's last day in her house, I yelled. You can't sit here and be pleasant with her for 2 hours? Would it kill you to have a cup of coffee with your terminally ill mother? I got shit to do today, he barked. I don't have time for fucking around. I thought I'd snapped a few minutes before. I had been wrong. Says the good Christian man about his dying fucking mother. You were so full of shit, Dad. Where's your fucking Christian kindness now? There was no end to my righteousness. I had the high-minded fury of an avenging angel, protecting the grandmother who had protected me for so many years. I knew I had the right of things. My father was forming some biblical retort when I turned and stalked back to the rear of the house. I found my fiance sitting next to Grandma on the patio swing, patting her leg and trying to comfort her while she muttered inconsolably. I think I'll just walk out into the desert, she said. That'll be it. I'll never be a burden to anybody else. I stifled a laugh. It was all just so ridiculous. Out in the driveway, my father and I were locked in moral combat, prosecuting the ancient battle between good and evil. Back in the patio, Grandma was regaling an admirer with tales of pity and woe, holding court in her most favorite way. We were all doing what we do. There was a perfect, insane symmetry to it. This was us. This was family. And this was my fiance, comforting my grandmother in the middle of my family's crazy that I had done nothing to moderate, crazy I had helped to create. It wasn't Grandma who was lost in the desert. It was me. I had lost sight of what was most important, but not Vince. In that moment, I'm sure he would have rather been anywhere else, but here he was, right next to a dying woman he really didn't know, consoling her, indulging her, and being present with her. The very thing he'd done since we arrived. The very thing, were I not such an asshole, that I would have been doing myself. I flopped down next to them, and Grandma patted my leg. That's your father, honey, she admonished me. You be kind to him when I'm gone. My eyes filled with hot, shameful tears. Grandma went back into the house to take her blood pressure and did what she does best. Oh, this is terrible. Just terrible, she wailed. Look at this, will you? Look at this. I slapped the cuff on myself, 175 over 110. I was a woman on the verge. The verge of a stroke. Very suddenly, I was exhausted and homesick for San Diego. I wanted to get back to my life, to my bed, to my garden, to my friends, to my work, where, as a hypnotherapist, I taught mindfulness and helped clients manage their emotions. The irony was not lost on me. Grandma hadn't really cared about washing the sheets. She just wanted to control something in her life for one last time. My dad wasn't angry about the stupid washer. He had been loved and spoiled by this amazing woman his whole life, and he was losing her. My dad was just a sad little boy, using anger to distract himself from the crushing weight of his grief, just like me. All my righteous fury was bullshit. I helped my dad load his things into the truck. We haven't spoken since I left, but we've reached an unsteady peace. His last text messages to me did not contain God or biblical references or apocalyptic theories, just pictures of our family. I did not go down to Tucson for Christmas this year, but I'll be back soon to visit Grandma in her new home. She lives in Casa Grande with my uncle, about an hour from Tucson, and the rest of my family. I think that's a good thing for now. I don't know what kind of crazy my family will serve up when I go back to visit, but I'm sure whatever it is, I'll pull up a chair and eat a ridiculous helping of it. This time with a side of crow. Sometime next year, there will be one less seat at that table. I'm not looking forward to that day, but I'm not angry anymore. I'm just sad. All we have to do as a family is survive it. I think we will. We're tough like that, and a little crazy. Thanks to her. Thank you.
Give it up for J.D. Burke, everybody.